Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another Planet Coaster video. So today we're going to be working on our new project, which is my one-to-one Knott's Berry Farm recreation. I started this project a while ago and figured I'd start sharing the progress with a new series. I've completed a small portion of the park already, but I think my main goal for today will be to work on everyone's favorite B&M invert, Silver Bullet. Might go over a little bit of the history of this ride, its significance, and talk a little bit more about the project in general. By the end, I'll have a smooth, crisp POV for everyone to enjoy. So without further ado, I think let's just get started with the build. Okay, so while we're working on the speed build, let's do a quick overview of this ride. Silver Bullet is an inverted roller coaster manufactured by Bolliger & Mabyard, or B&M, and according to the roller coaster database, the ride opened on December 7, 2004, and has a height of 146 feet, max speed of 55 miles per hour, and a track length of 3,125 feet featuring 6 inversions. One of the strengths of this ride is somehow B&M managed to fit this large coaster in such a small place. Knott's is an extremely compact park. It's what makes it really charming and interesting, and somehow managing to fit this ride that feels free and open and not super claustrophobic with such a small space is truly a success in its engineering. The ride has received some criticism that it's not the most thrilling B&M, especially on the drop, but it's more or less a good fit for the crowd that Knott's attracts, and overall just a good ride. So coming back to what we're working on here, one of the more interesting things I noticed while working on this ride was how intentional the supports were placed. For example, there's this stagecoach track that you saw me place down a bit earlier, and they needed to be more cautious of where they were placing supports and footings to avoid existing structures, for example, like the stagecoach track. It just shows you how custom B&M had to make this ride for Knott's. And I'm an engineer, I usually notice these small details, but I find it really fascinating on how these things are designed and built. Another great thing about this ride is how solid the loop is, which is on the larger side of loops. It's fast, fun, and a good opening to the ride. And again, it's super raised, and I would assume that that's the case to preserve the Camp Snoopy train it runs over. But make sure you stay to the end of the video for some nice B-roll footage and a crisp POV. I think you'll see how fast we run through this loop when you watch that. This port work was pretty challenging with angles and whatnot, so I only had images to go off of, but somehow I think I managed to get something pretty solid. And that actually ties into something else I wanted to talk about, which is this one-to-one recreation and how I got myself into this project. Yeah, so ever since I was a kid, I always loved playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 and Roller Coaster Tycoon 1, and I always found myself building recreations, so I figured now that we have Planet Coaster and more of a means to actually sort of feasibly be able to do these sorts of projects, I figured why not, let's do it. I think it'll be fun, and I'm happy I chose it. So what are we doing? How are we doing this? I am using Google Street View and Google Maps. Fortunately for me, all of Knott's has been uploaded on Google Maps and Google Street View, so I can view it on the floor. And what I did is I actually took a screenshot, aerial screenshot, and I put it on billboard panels all within the game. So everything you see on these billboard panels that I'm basically tracing the park over is all one-to-one. And there's like 400 something panels or something like that. There's a really nice tutorial on how to actually scale these panels and make sort of a really accurate recreation like I'm doing here in the description below. So yeah, you should definitely go check out that tutorial. Super helpful for me. But yeah, like I am trying, the goals for this recreation are to make everything as accurate as possible. And that means we're doing every tree, every rock, every support, every building, anything and everything that is in the park I'm going to add as best as I can. And obviously there's not a lot of, there might be a lot of areas where things are not exactly to scale, which for example are this, which is this transfer track station maintenance area for Silver Bullet. Yeah, like for some reason Planet Coaster, the station is a lot smaller than what is actually there, and it's a little bit bigger. Or, I'm sorry, it's a little bit bigger, and I couldn't really fit everything where it needed to go, and the station kind of protruded out a little bit more, which caused this transfer track station to get a lot smaller. But I figured I really wanted to make the station pop and look good. Not many people really care about a maintenance shed, so the maintenance shed is not to scale, but you know, that's just what's going to happen with this project. There's a lot of things that might be too big, too small, and that's what just comes with the limitations of the game. So I think it's okay. You know, I'm not going to cry about it. I did kind of cry a little bit internally when I couldn't make it exactly 1-to-1, but that's just kind of the flow of this project. You know, everything's not going to be exact, but I think my main goal is to just make everything is that exact as possible. And I'm sure I can always go more, but I'm actually trying to use a lot of the in-game pieces too. I'm not using a lot of TMTK, a few things here and there, but nothing too absolutely wild. So yeah, so that's kind of what the project is going to be like, and I'm excited to kind of move forward with this. So back with the builds, we are working on the station, like I mentioned, and again, the station's also really raised, and it's actually because I think they wanted to make this ride sort of above a bunch of pathways. Like there is paths that go around and up and down and all through this roller coaster. There's supports everywhere you look. The coaster's flying above you, and I think that's one of the coolest things about this ride is how inviting it is when you walk in, and how good it looks, honestly. Like the colors I think match the sort of Western theme, but the theme in itself is actually kind of a little bit lacking. Like the station doesn't really have a whole lot of theme. There's not a lot of, there's probably backstory and things like that. I just don't really know what it is, to be perfectly honest, but I think it really fits well with the landscaping and everything that you have around it. That's kind of what it's meant to be. It's just supposed to be a fun thrill ride and not have to take its theme too seriously, but it works well, and it works as a really good thrill ride for Knott's. So I actually really love this ride. I think it looks phenomenal. I think it's a work of great architecture, and you know, I think it's really great. You know, this ride was built like almost like 2004, like a long time ago. So I actually remember when they were building this ride. I remember going to the entrance and seeing them construct the Cobra Roll, but nonetheless, yeah, great ride, and I'm happy to be building it. So yeah, right now I'm working on some, I think these are like some priority and exit pathways that are around the edge. I've never used these. You always use the center staircase to get up to the station, but yeah, I'm not sure. And now we're adding a little bit of fun detail, which is the station, the sign. That sign I just had to kind of sort of put in a bunch of signs and change the letterings and whatnot, but I was able to do it. And a cool part, little entrance thing has this little chair that you can try out, so you just make sure you fit in the restraints. Just, for example, these are small little details that I want to add, so, and see, you see me here adding a tree that goes right there, and, you know, that's based on what I saw in the street view and whatnot, so, and yeah, right now I'm tracing out where this lake goes, and this lake kind of was a little bit frustrating, actually, because Planet Coaster doesn't really allow for very much variable height in your water, so the water is a little bit lower, but again, something, you know, Planet Coaster limitation, nothing I can really do. But yeah, so I'm reaching the end of the time lapse here, but thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support, and yeah, so let's enjoy some nice B-roll and a crisp POV like I promised. Bye guys.